Morning, guys. I've been sitting here this morning watching the CNN broadcast. I believe it's Robin Mead's show, and they just had this guy on there, this kid. And when I say kid, that's what I mean. He's a younger man, probably in his early 20s, named Brady Qirk-Garvan. And anyway, he's calling on this sheriff from South Carolina who stated that he would not uphold an unconstitutional gun ban or gun legislation. And this kid, he's the college, internet hero, as we've discussed before. And he's got this online petition calling for this sheriff to resign. And the whole point of this video is the fact that these young guys, they sadly don't know shit from apple butter about liberty, about freedom, about even the due process of law. Okay, this kid is really sadly delusional. You can tell he's been brainwashed by the liberal media and the government supremacy ideology, where whatever they say goes. It doesn't make any difference what they say, as long as there's a government stamp on it, by God, then it's gospel. And you can, I don't know, y'all just try to get on this thing and watch it for yourself. This kid's got the most blank, zombified expressions on his face. He's just a regurgitator. Now, I don't know if he's reading from a cue card or he memorized this bullshit rhetoric, or if he truly believes it. If he truly believes it, that's the terrifying part of this situation for me. I've got children that are that age, in their early 20s. And, of course, thankfully, I don't think they hold the same values as this kid does. I don't think that they've been, ignorantly blissful of the fact that the government is not the most truthful entity that they've ever come across. But, the damage that this does is that you have other people his age, other young people who have, I can't quote this enough. They've not lived long enough to know a damn thing about anything, really. They've spent their days, in some liberal professor's classroom. They've spent their days on the younger, antiquated information sites, and they just don't. They've yet to have enough life experience to make a decision based on fact, researched life facts. Okay. Most of these kids don't know shit about the Second World War and the dictator that we went to war against and why. I've heard a lot of these kids, they spout some shit off about Hitler that is really not true. It's just some secondhand information based on some liberal professor's opinion of Hitler's, intent and greater plan, and of course they focus solely on the atrocities that they've been told are the truth. So, and again, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here defending Hitler. I'm not some crazy sumbitchin' Nazi. But I will tell you that when you really start delving into the information and the ideology behind Hitler's intent, it's not what the later media of the last 60 years has made it out to be. Okay, he had a lot of points that, in his eye and in the eye of the Third Reich, was in a way of weeding out undesirables within his society that were trying to destroy it. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Okay, enough of that. You make your own decisions. But my point is, it's the Vietnam War. You ask the kids why we went to war in Korea, and 99% of them don't even know we went to war in Korea. Okay, let's get a little closer to home. You ask them why we fought the Civil War, and of course they're going to regurgitate that well, it was because black people were just, they needed to be freed from this enslavement, and okay, well, that's part of it. but realistically, it was because two parts of the nation were divided about how they were going to live. Okay? Were they going to live free to do what they wanted to do, run their business the way that they wanted to run it? You know, there was a lot of politics, if you will, within the Civil War as well. You go back to the Revolutionary War, and they all regurgitate the Cliff Notes. They give you the book report. They've never opened the book themselves, okay? And so I find it really hard to have discussions with children and young adults in that capacity because they've never done the research. You know, I myself am a voracious reader, especially of history. And so, you know, the things that a lot of these younger people are missing are the details. And believe me, folks, the devil is in the details. The mass media has awashed 90% of history when it comes to, you know, young children's exposure to it. They're given the history that certain entities want them to have. Not the reality of the history, but just the key points that put the slant or the lean on history that these people represent, or that these people want to represent. So you get this kid on TV here. He comes on. He's got his fancy little suit and tie on. He's all cleaned up. He's trimmed down his beat neck beard and his combed down his wackadoo hairstyle, and cleaned his glasses, and he's trying to promote an agenda. And his constituents, his peers, his young, I don't want to say ignorant, uneducated, reciprocants, his base, I'm at a loss for words here today, the constituency of which his points are aimed at are going, hey, this guy's one of ours. You know, he doesn't look like a complete fruitcake, so it's got to be true. Okay? The only way these kids question, these younger people question what they're being told, is if by whom they're being told, if they can associate that with some form of dishonesty. If this kid gets up there, his teeth are all burnt off, he looks like a meth head, he's just a basic, skeleton of himself, and they can honestly, thankfully, discern the difference that, okay, this guy might not be in his right mind. But, and then they get a guy like me. They're like, well, dude, there's never a day that goes by that you don't have on a pair of sunglasses and something camouflage. You are a right-wing extremist, you're a wacko, so they can justify not listening to the information that I give them. So I tell them, okay, if I trim up my beard, I comb my hair, I take my hat off, I take my sunglasses off, I put on a sport jacket, I sit down in front of you and I tell you the exact same thing. Now are you going to believe me? What should change? Because that's the way that they take information. They don't do the research. They take the information based on the source and their impression of the source that they're getting. They take this shit from Obama and his administration based the same way. They're like, well, look at this man. He's a clean-cut black guy. He's got a short haircut. He wears a suit all the time. And he's in a position of power. So whatever he says has got to be gospel. And no matter, I've sat and watched them. He's given inauguration speeches. He's given State of the Union addresses. He's given all these things. And these young people, they just say, well, look, he's the president. He can't be lying to me. Now, I'm not saying they all do that, but I'm telling you, the mass majority of them do. Hence, he got reelected, okay? So, look up the information on this kid and this South Carolina sheriff. And, here's a sheriff who's trying to do the right thing. He's like, I will not uphold an unconstitutional law. I took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, and if a law is passed that I deem unconstitutional, I'm not going to uphold it. Okay? And then here's this kid who's trying to sway all of his peers to go along with it. Have a look at it, see what you think. Stay frosty, friends. We'll see you later.